that's usually overkill, but you know, we can't argue too much.
And there's police officers, plus they'll need their supervisors there, which you need to hire. Plus, there's a minimum amount of hours you can hire them for. So even if your event is just an hour, they're still going to charge you a minimum of 3 to 4 hours.
4 hours.
So all of that, when you add all of that up, it adds up to be quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest tip is your security. Now, again, I'll use a venue like Fair Park versus a street or another venue. The street is much more expensive because you have to use police in all of it. Once you close the street, you have to have a policeman there until you reopen it. So does it make any difference when you close that street? If you close it down 10 hours before or 12 hours before or 2 days before your event so you can set up on the street, you have to have a police officer there 24/7. With Fair Park, at least you're allowed to use their private security contract, which is platinum, which is a third the price of a police officer to handle most of your security needs. Police, you're never closing any streets at Fair Park. It's a park.
Talk about alcohol and security, how that affects it.
What do you mean?
If you're selling beer.
Well, if you're selling beer, yeah, you better check IDs and keep an eye out and have all of your volunteers aware of people that are drinking too much. I generally try to put a police officer near each one of my beer stations because if they can't catch a guy who's drunk, then you can. We've had several incidences where older kids were buying beer and taking it over to younger kids, and volunteers caught it and reported it to me, and the police put a stop to that one real quick. Security, there's also a huge difference in what you sell on site. Beer and wine, for some reason, they figure you can't get nearly as wasted on beer and wine as you can on spirits. Well, I got news for you. You can. But the rules are totally different, which is always amazing to me. But you have security. If you're going to sell alcohol, be prepared for a higher security cost.
And another headache or a problem or issue we're going to run into is when you have so many people, this non-city requires you to have so many restrooms. That's going to add up to the cost.
How they ever figured that out, I'll never know.
They are pretty good at estimating that. So every year we end up paying thousands of dollars to have additional restrooms there, makeshift bathrooms.
Portlets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's a big hit also.
And there's a funny story. When we did our walk this year at City Hall, of course, they can only allow you to keep those restrooms in certain spots. And with there at City Hall being so many Texas seals everywhere, you can't have a restroom close enough or around that area. So it was, that was interesting to figure out where we could have that, because like you can't have a restroom, but there's a Texas seal right there on the floor. So that's it.
Logistics are interesting.
It's always a challenge.
What about insurance?
Insurance, please carry it. Do not do an event without insurance. You will regret it in the long run. Trust me. I've had several lawsuits, and thank goodness gracious we've had insurance, because people love to sue events. They'll sue your sponsors, they'll sue your board of directors, they'll sue the venue, they'll sue you, they'll sue anybody they can get hold of. Insurance, insurance, insurance. Have event insurance. A lot of people think that their own general liability will cover it. That's not always the case. Make sure that you're carrying a general liability that carries event insurance, because there's some specifics to it. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you're going to do that insurance, then...
We did an event at St. Mark's. We did the International Festival there 2 years. And a lady, as we moved in, tripped. And she thought since it was at St. Mark's, she could sue St. Mark's. Okay. That didn't happen because the contract, of course, didn't permit that. But we also found an insurance company that charges us literally 1/3 what we used to pay. So things like this, the cheapest tents, portalets.
Research it.
You know, well, ask our folks. They'll recommend people. And I'll be glad to recommend the insurance company.
My company carries its own event policy, and anytime I have an event that wants me to get a bid on it for them, I go through my insurance agent, who's a Farmers Insurance. And then my Southwest Celtic Music Association, because they do so many events throughout the year, they carry their own insurance policy through another company. K&K is one of the biggest event insurers in the country, and they do an excellent job. You gotta do some comparison. Don't just take it. Say, okay, if you're taking insurance in your business already, and maybe it's State Farm, they may say, oh, sure, we can insure you, but get a bid. Get a second bid from someone who does specific event insurance, and just see what the differences are. I think that you'll find a huge difference in it. But insurance is imperative.
We've got it planned, we've got it funded. How do we market? Just out and market it.
Well, one of the biggest things nowadays is viral marketing, social network. Twitter, Facebook, what are all those different things? I mean, you know, Twitter can either make you or break you, because if you're not doing a good job, they'll tell somebody right then and there. They've killed movies before. That movie Barat that came out. Anyway, it didn't keep going because of Twitter, but I mean, viral marketing is, in this day's demographics of your attendee, is absolutely imperative that you do that. It's taught me a lesson. But other marketing is, obviously, you know, we do radio sponsorships, I do print, I do all forms of marketing, brochures, media.
Press releases. Our events being non-profit in nature and also independent, and it has a lot of connotation to it. So we release press releases, so the media catches it, and they normally cover it 1 week ahead of time. So that's a good way of doing it. And awareness campaigns, and membership drives, and membership drive, you know, we can get a lot of members during the launch of the event.
Spread the word. Yeah, and one thing about press releases is don't let it intimidate you, because I have no idea what PR, but I've done several different ways. I do have a person that I do hire for PR on a general basis, but go to a sponsor. If you've got a sponsor and saying, gee, you know, major corporations, they all have somebody in their company that does press.
Right.
So do it in kind plus cash with the sponsor. Say, gee, if you'll let us have your PR person to handle press releases for the festival, then we'll take $3,000 less in cash and we'll do in kind, and that'll give your value back up. So you're using that sponsor's PR person to get the word out press-wise, and that works real well because they're used to it. They know what's going on. They know how to write press releases.
That's exactly what we did with Pepsi, being the biggest sponsor of our event, Nonviolent Walk, Gandhi Walk. So they did a nationwide campaign for us.
Yeah. So when they brought up in kind before, always think about, if you can get someone to do something for you and you don't have to pay for it, then yay. It's still got to be a line item in your budget. But if they're going to say, gee, we'll do this in kind, you just don't have to write a check out of your pocket. That's great.
I got a question, kind of with Anne Marie a bit too. You know, most of us here are from ethnic cultural groups, and it's the reason why we're here. But so we would be interested in ethnic festivals mostly. But I'm curious, with Anne Marie and your database and your emails, have you guys, you know, with your Indian festival, have worked with her on her?
Yes, we have.
And what's that effect? I mean, do you get a pretty good
Tremendous value in terms of awareness. We found partnerships are so important. I mean, we'd like to partner with every ethnic group.
Yeah.
So,
I'll go one step further. Any group or any organization have a festival, I cross-market. I mean, I'd love to have information about your festival, my festival, because I'm not going to do another one like you, and you're not going to do another one like me. So do every opportunity you can to cross-market and share this information.
But have you had some feedback from people who said, my gosh, Anne-Marie, when we put it on your website, this many turned out? Or
Everybody has told me that they know their folks. They know who usually shows up at their events. And if it's, let's say they usually get 50 people, instead they get 70, they can see the faces and they say, where did you get that information? From the international calendar. So it really does pay. If you want a press release sent out about your event, you already know you can send it to us. If it's an ethnic event, we'll send it to our list for you. I won't write it for you, but you already took the class, you know how to write it. I'd be glad to send it. And a very, very major event, you know, like the 3 that you guys have, we'll make a graphic ad.
Oh yeah, she does a great job for us on ours.
Glad to help.
That's a great job. The website's also, you've got to have a website. You really need to have.
Many of the ethnic groups do have radio because we have 100,000 people in our community, and if you add similar language-speaking people, India, Pakistani people, they're looking at 200,000 people in the community. So there's a radio. A lot of things that advertise on the radio.
And then some of the things that we did for marketing for the partnership, we kind of did it even on a smaller scale where it was more personal because we're trying to create that relationship to be able to raise funds and to do just raise awareness. We also did a lot of just corporate presentations. If we have connections with some people that might work for a certain company, we got in touch with them. They got in touch with their coworkers, and then basically would go to their place of business and their conference room and just do a presentation for a small group of people, just to engage them in our cause and so on. And that ended up being very effective, and we were able to get a lot of bodies to show up at our event that way. So you know, it's really very specific to what type of event you're doing. That you have tons of options for marketing. Last